Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're reacting and having a discussion about a video from King Wolfe here, which as you guys have been keeping up, I do have like other videos talking about this particular topic. Very long videos, so apologies there for people who may not enjoy those, but either way, we're gonna get into it. And we're gonna try our best to kind of sift through it and see like what the response is to the Hens video, because I obviously have spoken about that extensively. So let's get into it.
Now remember, I feel like Hens says the tunneling needs to be nerfed. Doesn't need to be taken away.
No, that's not what Hens said. You know, we just started, all right? we just started. But off the bat, no, Hens did not say that it needed to be nerfed. He said that devs are trying to nerf it, but he said that it was not going to be removed from the game.
I feel like Hens says the tunneling needs to be nerfed. Doesn't need to be taken away, needs to be nerfed. I feel like it's already been nerfed enough. Any good team, like you saw the way that Ghostface game went earlier today. Any good team can try to work around it. It's not really all right. So let's look at me under his video getting cooked in the comments, right? Let's because I always talk about the top brackets and high MMR. Let's just how many more chances do they need? It's already doomsday in its current state. It's about to get worse. We've already been hit with the bombs. How much more can we take is the question.
Once again, like I've said, I think it's just a fundamental misunderstanding of the changes coming. Now, obviously, I don't agree with the idea that they're nerfing strategies. I do think that it's just not the way to go. Like I've said, I've always said that the core issue has been the balancing in itself. The core issue is the gens are just insanely fast. Like, perks are insanely strong on Survivor side especially. And if they are going against teams that are fully aware of the fact that all they have to do is the gens. Like, they don't even have to loop well. Like, they can easily just do the gens at the speed of light. The games are completely just a wash, right? Like, you literally have zero chance to, you know, really play a full match longer than 5 minutes if you're going against that type of thing. And the problem is that it's not super common. So, like, my perspective on it when I go against it, and of course, like, it's even been said, like, usually the negative experience is the one that stand out. Which is another aspect that we also can keep in mind. But at least from the few that have experienced it, I think it's become an issue all across the board, no matter what level of play. I think at this point, like, the gens have been insanely fast, even nowadays. Like, I think it's gotten even faster. Arguably, who knows? But the idea is that the main issue is not even necessarily like these strategies, and I wish they would address it. Like, I wish they would try to do something about the gen speed thing. But the thing is also, if the vast majority, which is going to be, you know, the more casual and average players don't have a problem with it, then people who that are more advanced or that play as like to win as consistently as possible are just not going to see any positive changes coming their way. So there's like a bit of a unfortunately, that's just the reality that we have to face. The game is, you know, like, with the addition of MMR, it seemed as if it was going to lean into the competitive. But ultimately, you know, the game is fully, you know, the devs have fully pretty much said, like, nah, like, we're focusing on the vast majority. So, yeah, like, you know, it's unfortunate. But let's continue.
I thought they went extinct, but man, he's the last soldier of the Survivor versus Killer war. I almost respect it a little, because remember what I'm telling you guys. Hens must have the patience of a saint for still being respectful and objective here. Okay, remember, these guys are talking down like I'm not as good as I say I am. Just had a killer yesterday feel inadequate and said he lost morale playing killer while telling me. He said he didn't enjoy the match and messaged me GG's. He was guilty about tunneling this guy. He had difficulty tunneling me because I'm extremely good at looping. He said he won most of his matches starting out by strictly tunneling one person from the start. That's the problem. Now that he raises MMR artificially, it's not artificially, he won the game. I don't get what you guys keep saying artificially. No, he won the game. You were bad at looping. You didn't get to save your team. You didn't buy enough times. I've posted countless videos of me doing that. Loop me, tunnel me. You guys gotta understand that my mind state is a competitive mind state. I want to be chased. I tell you guys that all the time. How many times do I always try to take chase and the killer just respects me and leaves? Countless times.
That point I do agree with. When I did play Survivor, which apparently according to the stats, I've gotten about 400 hours before I eventually stopped playing all that time ago. I do see that. Like the only times that I've ever seen any killer players that were consistently trying to consistently chase me around was mainly because of, you know, their lack of, you know, game awareness and sort of in the macro sense, because they, you know, they I think the ego kind of kicked in, because, you know, I've experienced it too, like when I've like been playing before. I get it. But regardless, I agree with that point. If you know how to play Survivor, you're probably not going to be chased as much. And I've always said it's the more interesting thing to do if you were to play that side. I personally don't, but when I did, I was like, the only thing I really wanted to do was get chased anyway. I just found that more fun. Personally, to respond to the comment at least, it's saying, like, the idea of saying that they lost morale, I think it was, playing the killer while tunneling him. Which, I mean, yeah, like, if he didn't enjoy the match, but he said GG's anyway, I mean, like, hey, good on him. They said that he had difficulty tunneling him. He was one of the most matches starting out by strictly tunneling one person from the start. That's the problem. He raises... The thing is that we're not... Like, the idea is that this player, this Wesker, does not have an understanding of the fundamentals of the macro game, and does not have the knowledge of the game to be able to withstand more aware and intelligent players. The problem is, and that's why we're talking, and that's why they've been talking about the raising the MR artificially, because he does not understand, like, that player didn't understand the macro game, because of the fact that if you just, like, the thing is that when they get the idea of, I have to tunnel this person out in order to start winning the game, they're gonna stick to that, and they're not going to think, okay, well, maybe I gotta switch for a second and then go for this free down now to buy myself more pressure, and think for the grand, like, think about a more grand scale on how to go around and deal with the match you're up against. And then the thing is like, and I've said this before, as well on streams, like, you know, I've had people say, like, oh, just tunnel, just get whatever, and it's like, nah, it doesn't always work against the type of players that I'm up against. That's not, like, just like the end-all be-all solution. It doesn't always work that way, especially because, mind you, I'm also playing Ghostface, which is, you know, second chance perks hit him very hard, so, like, you know, and he's also very terrible at just tunneling in general, so you would be, like, honestly, you're better off with using, like, Pyramid Head, which is who I also main, so I would do that more effectively with him. But regardless, it's not the end-all be-all. It's a tool in your toolbox. It's not the whole weapon. You feel me? Like, you have to look at these strategies like you're opening up your bag of tricks, and you have to pull out something different each time, depending on what you're up against. That's how it works. It's like you have all these, like, different tools to help you win. And it says in the comment here, he got ran by a Survivor for 5 gens, and there's a 4-man out. And it says, now that Wesker is stuck in an MMO bracket that has extreme difficulty from his method from YouTube that many survivors can compete against. That's what I was talking about in my previous video as well. Like, just because you tunnel doesn't always mean you're going to win the game. And, you know, it really depends, right? It really depends. You really need to understand how to play this game much further than just, oh, I'm just tunneling and that should get me the win. And the only reason that even works is because those players are not aware enough to be able to counter it. It is a good strategy. It works on maybe solo queue usually, but there are going to be teams or even MMRs like this person is mentioning where it just simply is not going to be the best strategy. Sometimes you're going to have to split your pressure out. Sometimes you're going to have to, you know, Sometimes you're gonna have to, like, you know, quote unquote tunnel 2 people at the same time. You'll have to, you know, go for this person and then go for this other person and then just swap those people's hooks until you can get them both out. There's different things that you have to do. Now I know that it's, you know, not super common, because, like, you know, even the people at this level are a very low percentage, but still. Let's continue.
Now that Wesker player is stuck in an MMR bracket he has extreme difficulty in because of this method from YouTube that many survivors like myself can compete against. This guy is just talking BS. This is BS, bro. He's lying. If I had to tell you guys I've ever seen a lying comment, there it is. Let's see if
I disagree. Honestly, I disagree. I don't think that he would be lying about this, because I've seen it myself. Like, I was in that same experience before, bro. I've experienced the same thing. If you chase the wrong person for too long, you're going to lose your game. Now, I'm not saying I had chased the same survivor for 5 gens per se, but you can chase a survivor and then you know, say, like, either you don't get your down, that's at least like 10 seconds or 15 you're not getting back. That's 15 or 20% of the gen gone. So I disagree. I mean, like, this whole comment is talking about that idea that these people are utilizing these strategies and they're not able to fully understand the game. And it's not to say that tunneling or camping or using these strategies just makes you bad at the game. That's not what I'm trying to say, and that is not at all the truth. The fact of the matter is that they're not fully understanding the macro, because if you're just tunneling and you're only doing that, then you're not going to be able to understand anything past that. You're not going to be able to understand how to counter different strategies. And top it off, the amount of perks they have to counter that strategy in the first place. So, like, I have to disagree with that.
anyone calls them out, like, that's a lot of problem with killer players. They artificially No, that's winning.
So I will say, though, that this response saying that that's the problem with killer players and it says some kind of gimmick strategy, like, no, it's not a gimmick strategy. But I do agree, well, not focusing on fundamentals. They will run into someone that can beat their strategy. They're behind in all other aspects because that's the one style they play. That's what I was talking about. You can't just tunnel. You have to also be able to camp correctly. Slug, knowing when to slug is important. Because sometimes you could just slug and it means nothing. So you need to be able to know when to slug. Know when to tunnel. To know who to chase. Because there's some people that you just shouldn't be chasing. Where you're chasing. That's another important thing. Where are you chasing these people? These are things that aren't talked about in these videos. When they're saying just tunnel or just camp, it's like that's just you're watering it all down. When you really take the full base of it and you talk about it, it's like you gotta know when to do what. And the way that you're gonna learn these things is through experience. The way you learn these things is through going through those matches and seeing what works and what doesn't, and being able to gain the game sense, gain the game knowledge over time, right? And the way to do that is you play the game and you continue to try to improve, try to get better. So I understand why they're using that kind of language and saying artificially, but it is almost like that because they're not meant to be in that level, right? Because if the strategies are working, but then when they get there, they're not going to be able to handle any other match beyond that. Like, they're going to be able to get there, and then they're going to have a rough time. That's just how it works. So, I'm not saying that they need to be, like, well, lowered in their MMR per se, but what I'm saying is that because they are using strategies that other people are using against players that don't know how to counter it, which is the lower level play, and or even towards the average sometimes, or even against like the solo queue like the beginner solo queue players, you're just gonna end up against people that already have gone through all of that and can counter all of that. That's just how it works. I've seen it myself. I've seen other creators that are at the same bracket as myself that also do the same thing.
That's winning. Those are wins regardless.
I will also say, two creators that I know about that I do say that are at a similar bracket as myself, I would say Red's Gaming Gears, Hex Death on Twitch. Shout out to him. Hopefully he'll leave a comment.
because of how you felt. Well, he tunneled me, so and it doesn't count. That's a fake game. It's almost like Scott Junn saying he's going to count the game as a win because he got 2K in area crows. I'm going to go ahead and give myself the win there. The tactic of tunneling will get you far, but you won't thrive without tunneling because that's all.
So I understand, like, you know, even in the chat, because he streamed this, it said that he tunneled and lost because he was not good at tunneling, and he equated it to tunneling being the issue rather than being better at the skill. So tunneling in itself is not a skill; it's a tool. Tunneling in itself is a skill. Like, it's not a skill. It's a tool. A skill is learning how to, say for example, I don't know, what's a good example? Flicks on Pyramid Head. That's not something you can just pick up and learn. That's something you build on. That's what a skill is. You build on it to improve. But tunneling in itself is not a skill. It's a tool. It's a strat. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's a misunderstanding. I know it's ridiculous to try to even harp on terminology, but it's important to be able to fully understand what things mean. All right, like, so we can all be on the same page and be able to communicate effectively. So with this, I have to disagree. Like, it's not being good at tunneling. Like, anyone can tunnel, right? But it's how you do it. It's who you do it to. But you know what I'm saying? But that in itself doesn't make it a skill. But it's not to say that tunneling is also low skill. I don't know if I have to make that clear as well. I'm not saying that tunneling is low skill or some kind of whatever survivor rhetoric we talk about. It's not about that. It's ultimately to point out that anybody can do it, but it's when to do it. It's the idea that I'm trying to get at.
You know, listen, guys, what other strategies are there besides what we know? Can anybody tell me what other strategies are available? Please. I personally believe that.
The idea of putting quotations around tactic is ridiculous. We already understand this. So, yeah, no, this person here that sings the tactic of tunneling would get you so far but won't thrive without tunneling because that's all you know. No. This is a fundamental misunderstanding. No. And then this right here, I personally believe if you have the tunnel. No. That's a fundamental misunderstanding. These are fundamental misunderstandings of how this works. Okay? Killers that give v.h.s.x to honest try and put in the effort to understand looping can apply their knowledge to succeed thanks to their own skill expression. Tunneling is a crutch to win and to get into high MMR. So if they're only referring to like low level players, like utilizing these strategies when it's really not even necessary against low level, like no experienced players, I get it. But we can't sit here and just dumb it down and then make it make that the culture in the community that, oh, tunneling is just low skill and it's like it only means you're bad. It's like no. Everybody has tunneled and does it at some point in their games. We've seen it with every creator. This is a part of the game. It's a strategy, as we said, in order to play efficiently. We can use the same logic, like the tactic of gen rushing will get you so far, but you won't thrive without gen rushing because that's all you know. Meanwhile, survivors that give each match the honest try and put in the effort to understand looping can apply their knowledge and succeed thanks to their own skill expression. Gen rushing is a crutch to win and get into high MMR. If we flip it around and then we say that, do you know how many people would turn around and lose their minds at that statement? Like, all these survivor players would lose their minds and say, oh, what do you mean? They're just playing efficiently. They're just doing the objective. It's like, that's what I'm talking about. It's like, you can't sit here and say that oh, it's just to get in as just a crutch. And it's like, we could use the same logic with other things in the game too. And then look, let's flip it around here. I personally believe if you have to gen rush at 4 to 5 gens, you're terrible as survivor. Like, you see, you see this? I'm trying to make sure you guys kind of see how ridiculous this kind of commentary is, because you can't sit here and say that tunneling is low skill and it's just a crutch, but then there's also things that survivors do that also are a crutch, and also they will argue to they're blue in the face, right? Like, I can say, hey, the tactic of using dead hard will only get you so far, but you won't thrive without actually learning to loop because that's all you know. Like, you know what I mean? I personally dislike Dead Hard's existence. I think it's unfair, and I think that you shouldn't get free health states if you get yourself in a bad spot. The same thing with Siptics and stuff like that, right? I already believe that, but I'm not gonna walk around and say that it's, well, I mean, I do believe it is a little bit low skill too, but I'm not gonna go into comment sections and do all of that, because, you know, unfortunately it's because the vast majority of our Survivor players are going to see a lot of echo chamber conversations like this. It's unfortunate, but yeah, it's definitely not good. Definitely not great, to say the least. So they also say that MMR really isn't a rating of skill, it's a ranking based on win losses. Sometimes the two correlate, not always. Or MMR tends to be an inaccurate representation of the skill, which, you know, this first part I get, the rest obviously is blocked off, so we can't read the rest. But yeah, let's get into the rest. So another one says, what I find interesting why killer strategies get their objective done faster, looked down upon and punished, but no one really says anything about Survivor doing the same. It's just seen as being efficient. Thank you! Shout out to Avery Hyena here, bro. Oh my god. Imagine if there was a system behavior put in place that gave the killer some sort of base kit deadlock or grim embrace effect if too much Shen progress was made within a certain time frame. That would be kind of ridiculous, right? Yep. Thank you, Avery. Thank you. Why punish players for playing efficiently? Exactly. At the end of the day, without voice comms, the game will always be swift-sided, and without massive killer rebalancing, the game will always be nerfs blight-sided. At the end of the day, tunneling said will always happen as long as the objective remains kills rather than hook actions, not hook stages, hook actions. This is also an inherent flaw with the game's design. I think, who the hell is that? Zesty Jesus put it perfectly when talking about TF2. Making another human player play the objective is a terrible idea. Thank you. We have somebody speaking some facts. Let's go, man.
Okay, why is it just the killers frowned upon? Where are the replies? When you're hitting people with facts, they don't like the truth. That's all it is. Wolf.
I kind of agree with that too. Yeah, I kind of agree with that too. I honestly, I kind of agree with that. Also, shout out to Puffalope down there, just saying classic Survivor Bane, turning a blind eye to the murder of Killer v.h.s.x. Have some empathy, please. I know he's trolling, but yeah. But yeah, like, I get it, you know.
When you're hitting people with facts, they don't are bracket. Remember look how they're against me when I'm talking about the top level.
Bro. Okay, this is pretty funny. He says King Wolfe has some entertaining videos. He talks about top and more and bracket a lot, so I wasn't sure how serious about it, because he will down a urban evasion gamer hiding in a corner and yelling, "Finesse, I'm the best." Same guy will whiff 5 times in a row. He is so average at the game at best. Fun to see Hens reacting to this, his rambling though. God damn.
Need you guys to understand this. This is very important. We're gonna turn the curve here in a little bit. Okay.
God damn.
We're gonna turn the curve.
God damn.
I wasn't sure how serious about it, because he will down an urban evasion gamer hiding in a corner yelling finesse,
bro.
I'm the best. Same guy will with 5 times in a row. He is so average at the game at best. Fun to see Hens reacting to his rambling though. Bro isn't top MMR. He is facing urban evasion, corner camping. Look, these guys are pretty much saying the same thing.
Damn, bro. The other one says bro isn't top MMR if he's facing urban evasion, corner camping survivors. The #1 stereotype of baby survivors is the immersed survivor hiding in corners. Oh, he goes, well, no, but he thinks so. It's the same guy that will do 200 IQ strategies of sitting 6 centimeters away from a hook and outplaying the survivor solo cures. And then somebody says, post a clip of one of his streams where he has lost.
Like the #1 stereotype baby survivors is the immersed survivor hiding in corners. Post a clip of one of his streams where he has lost a single game. Went against him not long ago. He played Dracula and got absolute chat. I haven't used Dracula in a long time. That's a lie already. This is already a lie. Post a clip. It was on his live like 4 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, I see that a lot, you know, with this type of narrative.
Look at the lies, bro. It was on his live like 4 months ago. I don't care about that. Look how they just straight up lie.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. If you are, like, I in this instance, I will say that we do see a lot of that where people will just kind of make claims and not back it up. But yeah. That's all I'll really add to that.
On my live, I live stream me losing to this guy, is what he's saying. Every time he says high brackets, I physically recoil from my phone. Okay, keep this in your mind.
Damn, bro.
Now, I'm not saying this to disrespect. I'm just saying what the community, how they're perceiving me, and I gotta defend myself.
Yeah, as you can see right here, this person right here says, at this point, I'm just enjoying DBD on my own way. When I play Survivor, I create different playstyles. Use random builds, all these playstyles on top of regular matches with the Swift and solo. Like, this right here is the definition of a casual player, right? This is, like, we have to keep in mind that the vast majority is this person right here. Like, they just create their own fun, and this is also why I'm saying, this is what I've mentioned this in a different video. Like, to me, right, as a killer player, I can look at these things that he's doing, like healer, looper, gen rusher, entertainer, totem hunter, flashlight saver. These all, to me, like, from a killer perspective, could go, oh, that's, we talked about this in a different video. But I can easily say, well, I don't find these fun to go up against, right? And it's crazy because they'll like, you never hear any like them not run something like a healing build or a gen rushing build or a totem hunting build or a flashlight saver build or whatever have you. What if I said I don't find that fun, right? The survivors are still gonna bring the build. Like, you know what I mean? It's what I'm saying. Like, I've said this before. It's like it's a weird disconnect where they like which is a whole different topic, but like, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. That for some reasons, like, the killers are always getting the finger pointed at because they want to play the way they want. It's weird.
I'm just doing this to defend myself. I can't finish watching the video listening to dude you're reacting to talk about higher brackets more, okay? All right, now let's turn the curve. We're gonna stay on his.
I really hate tunneling and slugging. 7 or 8 to 10 games that I use in some spells aren't very good. Most of the issues are not from the killer side, but what maps? Yeah, I think maps and just gen speed are a bit of a problem. So, yeah.
His channel, or maybe his other channel. Okay, and we're gonna
which, shout out to the people who watch both this channel and Wolf's channel as well. I know that it's kind of slightly different forms of content. I used to be a bit more about like trying to win. I've kind of shifted past that because, you know, it's just not fun anymore for me at least.
See a video, or actually we don't even need to watch the video. The video from him is titled, this is Hens, okay? Remember, this is the same guy. This is the same guy in his community. Okay? Remember, they're talking about me.
Oh, we're pulling out the other video talking about tunneling camping?
Accusing me of lowering my MMR. All right? There's no way it's the same people. It's the same communities. I don't know if you guys have ever watched this video. Have you watched this video before? Let's see what the top comment is of that video where he's trying to showcase, do killers really have to tunnel and camp?
I do want to ask though, like, what does this have to do with the point of the video?
In DVD.
Because if the point of the video was talking about that there was a fundamental misunderstanding of, like there's a fundamental misunderstanding of what the changes really were going to, like, you know, what changes were really coming. They're not, and he never said that he wanted those strategies to get nerfed. He said that they were going to be nerfed because that's what the devs have said that they were going to do. And then he had said as well, not only are they going to get nerfed, but he says that he does not think that the strategies will be removed completely. Like, these things are going to stay the same. So I'm just a bit confused as to how this, like, what this has to do with the video itself. Now, if this has to do with the comments, then I mean that, you know, talking about the comments, I mean, everybody's got a ridiculous take.
Many of you rightfully pointed out that I am way more experienced than the survivors that I play against in these 10 games, and you were totally right. Goes on to say Dead by Daylight's matchmaking has very low soft cap on the MMR. It's not like that, okay?
No, it definitely does. it definitely does.
It's not like that. Whenever I'm in the high brackets, every game is a high bracket game. Every game. There is no. That's why I'm asking some of you guys so I can showcase. I need a good player to play Ghostface live stream and try to 12 hook. The whole point of the challenge was to prove.
Well, I think it's already obvious that you can't 12 hook with Ghostface, but then again, I am also a Ghostface main, so I already know that full well. That's not really viable against like a lot of teams. But it has its own. It's a lot of information to dissect in that, and I don't really want to get into that part of that part of the video. So it said the whole point of the challenge was to prove that player skill matters more than you. Anyway, so with that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Original video will be linked in the description. Final thoughts, really. I just think that there was just a misunderstanding of the actual point that Hens was making, and I do think that ultimately there was just like no response to what Hens had actually said in the video. Like I looked through it. It just ultimately didn't really respond to what Hens was actually talking about, like even going from point to point to actually like have a debate or actually have a conversation. So it kind of seems like that. I just have to say, like, ultimately, I think that Hens kind of comes out on top in this sort of debate, I would say, because of the mere fact that Hens makes very valid points. He's covering a lot of things, and he has just more information. So, yeah, I mean, the response is mainly about comments, and then it went into just kind of showing gameplay. So it really had nothing to do with the actual point per se. So that being said, once again, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube things. Support with the channel with the links in the description. I will see you guys in the next video.